students. Good morning, families. Yesterday, you looked at customary units. So that's units in the United States only. Today, we're going to look at metric units and then practice on visualizing metric and customary units. Okay? If that was confusing, don't worry. I'm going to break it down. So let's begin. Okay, measurement day 2. So there are different ways that we can measure things. We can measure items measuring the length, that's the distance between 2 points. That's what we're focusing on now. Next, we will focus on weight, which is you measure how heavy an object is. So things like pounds and tons and ounces. And capacity, and that's the word that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks. That is how you measure a liquid. So a measuring cup, some other things like that are different tools to do capacity. But today, we're going to continue being focused on length. Some tools to measure again, and I added a couple based off of that chart that we just looked at. We have some measuring cup, we have a scale, and we have a different type of scale added to this list. So there's all different ways to measure. Again, length is the measurement of a distance from end to end, and that is what we are going to focus on. So we talked yesterday about the customary units, and they're in the U.S. only. Only a couple of you got that wrong. Most of you got that right on the practice yesterday. So customary units are things like inches, a foot, or plural, more than 1 foot is feet, yards, and miles. And we looked yesterday at our references for that, right? Inch is if we bend our thumb, that little piece. A foot is a ruler. A yard is a distance from the doorknob to the floor. And a mile, you're thinking of like a highway, right? It's a far distance. Maybe from one exit to the next is about a mile. Today, we're going to be focused on metric units. Say metric units with me. This is universal units, meaning it is used everywhere. If I am a doctor in Houston, I can go to a hospital in Madagascar and talk to the other doctor about units. If I use metric units, we will be able to talk the same thing. We will not have to translate anything. Nothing will have to be converted or broken down. Metric units are used by all. Okay, it is the universal units. So what we're going to look at is this chart. You might have seen it yesterday. So this is Ms. Brisbane's chart that she made last year about length. We see on the left in the pink, you see customary units. That's what we went over yesterday. On the right is metric units, and that's what we're going to go over today, okay? So we're going to go over a millimeter, centimeter, a meter, and a kilometer. And this chart is really good to help you visually see that, and you'll see a yard is very similar to a meter. So our customary yard in pink is very similar to our meter in blue. A mile in pink is similar to a kilometer in blue. And when I say similar, I'm meaning you're thinking about the same reference. So if you're trying to think, what does a yard look like? What does a meter look like? You're thinking of the same thing from the doorknob to the floor. What does a mile look like? What does a kilometer look like? You're thinking of the same thing. It's pretty far, okay? In 4th grade, we're just trying to think about what they look like, and that should help you. All right, so today we're going to focus on metric units, metric length, things on the right of that chart that we just watched or looked at. These are some examples of metric length. So we're going to do step by step again, just like yesterday. Okay, so a millimeter is the smallest. One thing I forgot to know about this chart is at the top is the smallest units, and it goes down and gets larger, okay? So a millimeter is the smallest metric units that you're responsible for in 4th grade. Our reference is the teeny ladybug, okay? A teeny black ant is an example of a millimeter. If you're looking at the little part of your eraser and you see it, Or if you want to really, and I think everyone will have this, if you get a notebook or some paper and just stack 6 pieces of paper, and this part here, the thickness is about the size of a millimeter. You can also think about it as if you put a credit card or a gift card and you look to the side, it's very super thin. That is a millimeter, okay? Remember on our ruler when we went over it, these little tally marks on our centimeter side are millimeters. So they're very little. If you have a ruler, or in the practice for today, I linked the digital ruler, the app that had the ruler that you can click on. You could look at that to reference a millimeter as well and see how teeny tiny it really is. These little notches from one to the next, very little, okay? That's a millimeter. Next, we have a centimeter. A centimeter is a little bit bigger. You can think about a centimeter as about the size of a penny. If you have a ruler, you can see what a centimeter looks like. If I go from 0 to 1, that's the size of a centimeter. If I put my penny up, that's about the width of a penny, okay? A centimeter, also if you think of a button, also in here, your fingernail, the width of your fingernail from side to side, not up and down, but side to side, okay? And a push pin. This is a centimeter. It is bigger than a millimeter, but it's smaller than an inch. And you can see that because we know that on a ruler, over here are our centimeters in between our inches, okay? So that's just mixing up US and customary, but we're thinking millimeters is smallest, centimeter is next. After that is a meter. Just like yesterday when we looked at the floor to the doorknob, that is the same reference we're going to use for a meter for today, okay? We're using a meter stick and a yardstick are similar in length, not exactly, but this is what we're using, okay? So if you're thinking about, for Ms. Brisbane, from my head to about my hip is a meter or about a yard, okay? And for you, you can look at any doorknob in your house into the floor, that's probably about a yard. About a meter. And last but not least, a kilometer. That is very long, just like we looked at miles yesterday, okay? A kilometer, you're thinking of a highway. It is a long distance. Nothing in your house is probably a kilometer. So when you answer that question today, just like yesterday, you're thinking of things outside of your home. All right, so I want to give you a little reference. When you are thinking of meters or kilometers, it's always helpful. Let's see if it's going to work. I think I have to present. It's always helpful to have something in your mind that makes you remember. Remember we talked about in school repetition and muscle memory. If you do it over and over, or if you have a way of remembering it, it is easier. So when you are thinking of miles or kilometers, I want you to think of the Road Runner. I wonder if you all know the Road Runner, but this is a cartoon, and Coyote has been trying to get the Road Runner for years. He finally thinks he's devised a plan. Let's see. So not quite, but anytime you think of a kilometer or a mile, think of the Road Runner running down so quickly those highways, right? He's going a far distance, and Coyote probably, just like normal, will not be able to catch him. All right, next, just a review. You can have this up for you. I suggest that you take a picture of this on your phone, or you write this down so that you can use this when you do your practice, okay? This chart will help you, I promise. Please write it down, take a picture of it. All right, now I'm going to explain our practice for today. I'm going to do one example. So for today, and it will look a little different. This is the worksheet we would have done in school, but I instead inserted the pictures in the multiple choice. So you have these three and three other ones that are customary. So these are metric, and then you'll also have some customary ones. This is the same reference that I just told you to take notes on, okay? So we're going to do number 4 together so I can show you my process of thinking when I'm doing this. It says the directions are determine which letter best represents the length or the height. This I know is a flash drive. That's the one I'm doing. Something when you're doing this, if you have the item in your house, I suggest that you go get it so that you can see it. If we were in school, I would try, of course, not the horse, but anything on these papers that I had, I put out so that you could observe them, so that you could look at them, okay? Now, when I'm doing this, if I have a ruler, I'll probably have it out so I can do some measurement to help me with visualizing. If I don't have a ruler, I link the ruler for online so you can do some measurement. Also, you can look at the references. So I'm looking at the doorknob to the floor for a yard and a meter, for example, okay? So I need to figure out if a flash drive is about 30 centimeters, 60 centimeters, 6 centimeters, or 15 centimeters. Now, this might be a little challenging at first because this is new to me. I can't necessarily picture a centimeter. So the first thing you need to do is think about or look back at your notes. What did Ms. Brisbane say a centimeter was? Okay, I remember. A centimeter is about the size of a penny, right? Or if I had a ruler, I could just see this is a centimeter. I recognize on a ruler, there are a total of 30 centimeters on a ruler because I have a 30 right here. I know for a fact my flash drive is way smaller than the size of a ruler, so I can automatically cross out A. Since A is too big and that's 30 centimeters, 60 centimeters will be 2 rulers together. I know that's even bigger. Cross that out. And if I want to, I could write too big. And when you do these, if you need to write it out so that it helps you because it's online, please do. Next one says 6 centimeters. Again, I could either use my ruler or everyone has a penny at home they can use for a centimeter. I'm thinking, is this about 6 pennies across? I don't know. It looks about 4 to me. When I put it up here against my ruler, it's about 5 centimeters. Maybe. I'm going to put a star. And then 15 centimeters. I know that my flash drive is not 15 pennies side by side. I know if I use my ruler, it is not this right here. It's not 15. That is too big. So even though a flash drive is not exactly 6 centimeters, it's closest. And it tells me to pick the best one. So I know my answer is C. Now, when you do these, sometimes you might have the units mix up, just like the Ferris wheel, the screw. But you're thinking like this. If it is so large, like a Ferris wheel, I know for a fact I'm going to be using the larger unit. So when I look back at the chart, I should look at the bottom. If you know it's teeny tiny, you know that you need to have smaller units like centimeters or inches, and the numbers need to be smaller. So on here, the numbers and the units matter. Hopefully this makes sense to you. If you need any support, we're going to do this tomorrow as well. But let me know during office hours or just send me a message. Office hours today, 2 to 3. Have a great day.